Welcome, everybody, to the Hypnotic Sunday service. I am Evan Baumgartner, board certified hypnotist at Elliott Bay Hypnosis in Seattle, Washington. I hope you are all having a great Sunday. Before I really dive into what I want to talk about today, I need your help. I would like to know what type of content you would like to see. What is going to get you the most out of what I do and what I'm here to do, which is to help you find solutions to your situations. So, let me know in the comments, what would you like to see? Do you enjoy these lives? Do you watch them live? Do you watch them after? Is it relevant to what you're looking for? Would you like to see more meditations, more actually guided hypnosis sessions, hypnosis recordings, any of that stuff? Let me know. Would you like to learn how to hypnotize, how to do different techniques and all of that? Let me know what is going to serve you the best, that so I can make the kind of content that you want to see. I can sit here and talk until I'm blue in the face about hypnosis and whatever else, and do weird little experiments where I'm playing crazy old video games of driving a bus in the desert uh, all the time. But I would rather have a good idea of what you are looking for, what's going to help you the most. So I can give you that in my way, the only way I can do that. And hopefully, that's something that resonates with you. So let me know, leave a comment. Uh, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. And thank you for watching and for subscribing and likes and all your support. I really appreciate it. And I just want to make sure that I am giving you the content that you need, that you are here for. I want to give the people what they're here for and what they love to see. So let me know what that is. And again, welcome. Today, I am just going to talk about hypnosis a little bit and kind of how it works. And especially how it works without us even knowing, even realizing that it's working. And really, once we have an understanding of the subconscious mind, it all starts to make sense, because the subconscious is the part of our brain that's responsible for all of our behaviors, right? It's where our thoughts, our emotions, our patterns, our behaviors, our beliefs, everything that makes us us is stored in the subconscious mind. Think of it as like the operating system of our brain that's just running quietly in the background. And the conscious mind is like the user interface, basically. If we want to think about it in terms of a computer, we can move the mouse around, we can click on things, and that's doing something. That's like our conscious mind. We're seeing it on the screen. But underneath, there's all this code, there's all this stuff going on in the background that we don't really understand, that we don't even have any idea of what's really going on. And sometimes if something gets kind of out of sync back there, we can click on things. Well, why isn't this working? And that is very much like how we try to create change in our life using only our conscious mind. And that's where we tend to get stuck, because that conscious part isn't where the actual change, where that actual transformation takes place. That's happening in the subconscious. That's under the hood. We're not even aware of it. I always think that if we were aware of it, then it'd be easier to change. We wouldn't be asking, well, why am I stuck? Why can't I do this? Blah, blah, blah. So, the same way that running an app on our phone or our computer or whatever is accessing a deeper system into that device, hypnosis allows us to access the subconscious mind in that same way. And that is where the real lasting changes happen, is all in the subconscious. And when we make changes on that level consciously, if we even notice it, it can feel incredibly subtle, because now it's in alignment with how the subconscious is naturally processing information. There isn't a conflict. And usually there's a conflict between what program the subconscious mind is trying to run and what our conscious mind wants to do. And they'll butt heads and get stuck. So hypnosis allows us to go into the subconscious, talk to it, see what's going on. It's like opening a command prompt, getting into the deeper systems there, and really making sure that it's in alignment with what we say we want consciously. And there's a number of ways. There's a number of ways that we do this with hypnosis. And one of the ways we can bypass sort of the conscious mind and speak directly to the subconscious once we're in hypnosis is with the use of metaphors and imagery. And these are very powerful tools in hypnosis, because they do speak directly to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, it's driven by emotion. It's driven, and that emotion generates the feeling in our body. So it communicates to us that way. And because of that, it's going to respond more easily to symbols, to stories, to sensory experiences, more than it's going to be able to deal with like straight logic, right? The logical part of our mind is the conscious part. The emotional part of our mind is the subconscious part. So understanding that accesses it. And so if you think of a dream, there's always tons of imagery in dreams, and we don't necessarily know what it means, but maybe this has happened to you where you have a dream and it's really weird and it makes no sense. Like, what's happening in it, but as far as like what that's trying to communicate, you have no idea. But then you wake up and you just feel different and you go about your day in a different sort of way. That's because you just processed something. That was your subconscious processing something using imagery that consciously we don't understand, but we don't need to, because the subconscious knows. And it took that and it processed it and it freed up that processing power. So we weren't worried about it anymore. We're just like, oh yeah, now I feel really good. That thing, whatever that was bothering me or something is different, because our subconscious is always working to give us the most pleasure for the least amount of effort. And for better or for worse when it comes in there. But symbols, stories, anything that taps into the emotions, sensory experiences, that's always more powerful than just logically trying to explain it, because that the emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. um, and metaphors do a really great job of bypassing the any sort of resistance. It's a shortcut to change, basically, because we're not addressing a problem, an issue directly. If we are, then that'll cause the mind to resist, because remember, the subconscious mind is resistant to change. It thinks it has its patterns, it has its programs it's running, and it's says that this is the way I know, this is the best way forward, and I don't want to change that. So consciously, like, if even if we want to change, that resistance comes up, and it's like, oh no, we can't change it because the subconscious isn't on board. And no matter how much we can logic it away to the subconscious, unless we're talking to it directly, it's going to push that out. you know? And metaphors help us bypass that. So we can use metaphors, we can use imagery, things like clearing fog from a path, that might symbolically represent clearing confusion or doubt from somebody's mind. You know, telling a story. The conscious mind might not connect the two completely, but the subconscious is going to absorb that, and it's going to integrate that metaphor effortlessly. It's going to go, oh, okay, this makes sense. And that'll lead to changes that oftentimes we're not even consciously aware that that's happening. So that is very powerful. Imagery is also something that enhances this process. So I was a writer before I was a hypnotist, but I came from a very minimalist kind of process of writing. Raymond Carver, Ernest Hemingway, big influences on me. And I didn't do a lot of flowery description. I tried to strip everything down. And now, as a hypnotist, I'm coming up with ways to help my clients the best. I'm using a lot more imagery, a lot more flowery language than I would normally use in my everyday. And that's because the subconscious responds to that, because it's emotional. It Imagery will enhance the process the change work that we're doing with hypnosis, because the subconscious, it understands imagery. It has this incredible understanding of it and sensory input on this, like, very deep, very primal level. Because I mean, that part of the mind existed before our rational, logical, conscious mind, our problem solving, conscious mind. So, with hypnosis, if we're visualizing something powerful like, a mountain, or like a rock with waves crashing around it that symbolizes being solid, being grounded, that sort of thing, or you know, a gentle stream flowing that represents calm. That imagery is tapping into an emotional subconscious experience. And that itself creates the change that we're looking for without consciously needing to figure it out. We don't need to know that part. That's also why I say the why doesn't matter a lot of times. We just need to change it. Um, this is why in hypnosis, if you're working with somebody, okay, you want to reduce stress, it's the hypnotist will guide somebody. Imagine standing by like a peaceful stream and watch your worries float down it until they just drift away out of sight. Um, Weight loss is one where it's like, okay, you have your weight written in the sand on the beach, and the wave comes in and it washes away that number until like your goal weight is there. That's an example of stuff that really works on the subconscious, because that imagery is speaking to it in a way that the logical reasoning part of our mind can't. They're two incompatible things. So this is why people will experience these like subtle, effortless little shifts. They don't need to consciously believe in what's happening or even like fully understand what's going on for the subconscious to respond to it. Consciously, it might not make any sense to you. That's okay. It doesn't have to, because your subconscious gets it. The changes are happening. And this is why I like to work content free most of the time, because content free approaches take this even further. And I'm really letting the subconscious do all of the work with that. I don't need to know a lot of the specifics of the client's issue for the hypnosis to work effectively. And this is great when it comes to dealing with like really deep seated problems and trauma and things where I don't want them to be reliving it. I mean, with trauma, anytime you close your eyes, you're reliving it anyway. And everybody goes through something no other human being should experience. And I don't need to be there reliving that with you. I don't want that to happen. The idea is to move past it, knowing that we can't change it. But we don't need to dig that up in order for hypnosis to work effectively. I think that's a great thing. And, you know, even a lot of people say, oh, well, we have to go to the root cause and do. No, we don't. Why doesn't matter? And even if we have an idea of where it came from, that may not necessarily be the case. Like your client may not fully understand or remember the root cause. And that's okay. It doesn't matter, because we're guiding the subconscious to just resolve the issue itself. And consciously, we don't need to know why. We don't need to know a root cause. So that's why I like content free approaches. It's effective, and it's not risking re traumatizing a client. It's not, you don't have to dig up a bunch of painful things. It might come up and just poof, pop out. You know, that's what I do with the emotional detox. But in content free hypnosis, we just understand that the subconscious mind knows what to do more than the subconscious mind. So using open-ended suggestions, metaphors, symbols, we're letting the subconscious do the work for the client, to shift it so that alignment is there. If somebody comes to me for anxiety, I don't need to dig into every life detail to solve that issue. I didn't need to go dig up all my details to resolve my anxiety. I just did it. And we can even ask the subconscious to find a metaphor for the anxiety. Imagery will just come up. It'll present something to us. Like maybe it's like a tightly wound ball of string, you know? And then you could just allow the client to unravel it in their own way. And this is why techniques like the control room are powerful and successful, and why they're a staple of hypnotherapy, is because the subconscious knows exactly what it's doing. And even if you're not consciously aware of what it's doing, it knows. And it's go, oh, okay. So this can lead to unexpected and really powerful results for the client. Like immediately, I can't even count. It's every time basically a client will feel lighter, or, more confident, or just clear, without necessarily being able to explain how or why they do. They just know that they do, because the subconscious just resolved the issue we were there to resolve without needing to verbally process it. And these shifts that we experience in hypnosis, and that my clients experience, they can be subtle but incredibly profound at the same time. And they're subtle because they happen at such a deep level that a lot of times we won't realize that the transformation, the change has happened until we're faced with a situation that previously would have been a trigger. And then all of a sudden, like, they just respond differently, more calmly, more confidently, without any sort of like old emotional baggage. Just, and it feels natural. And the changes feel natural because the subconscious has integrated them. And it's happened naturally, it's happened automatically, it's just done. And it's like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that that happened, because everything was going on under the hood, right? And I've had that happen where, when I first started doing self-hypnosis, I remember a shift. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And it wasn't until I was suddenly in a situation, and I didn't even realize it at first. It wasn't until after the fact. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. This is, I am doing it right. And, self-hypnosis could be a lot more challenging than working with a hypnotist, because you're doing it yourself versus somebody guiding you through it. And I do feel like everybody should do self-hypnosis, have that as part of a daily routine, daily practice. But for big changes and everything, if you want fast, like, a hypnotist guides you there. There's something different about somebody guiding you in versus having to guide yourself there, that frees up some resources so we can really make shifts happen. It's like chiseling away at something. We're great for, detail work, maintenance, but then going to a hypnotist, it's like taking a pressure washer to it and really cleaning up the walls, cleaning all the gunk off of everything, just blasting it away. So, and again, this is also why hypnosis works, even if you don't have a conscious belief in it. And I don't mean being resistant, obviously, like, there's being like, this is bullshit. I don't care. I'm not listening to you. That's resistance. That I'm not going to work with you. You're not going to have success. If you're coming from a place, I don't know if this is going to work. I need to do something. I'm open to it. I'm going to trust your experience, your knowledge, and I'll allow you to guide me through this. Still being skeptical, don't necessarily believe in it, but you're open to it. And we need that for it to work, because otherwise you're closed off. But if you're open up, you don't need to believe in it consciously, because the subconscious that operates on the patterns, on the associations, on emotion and symbolism, rather than a conscious belief system. I mean, like, your conscious belief system is generated essentially by the subconscious. So using so if we're just talking to it, basically using coding, we're making those changes without touching the actual conscious belief thing. And it works, and the subconscious accepts the change. It makes a change without needing the conscious mind to validate the change. And I mean, think of that as how all of these social media companies are scraping your data and tracking you across every site you go to without your knowledge. You don't know that it's happening, but it's happening. And, it works. You might think that everything's shut off, but it's still pinging something. And hypnosis is very much the same thing with the subconscious mind. That doesn't sound great, does it? But I mean, again, it's that the metaphors and the imagery resonates with the subconscious on that primal instinctive level. That's existed long before we had language, long before we had this rational, logical, conscious mind that will often get in the way of changes happening, but gives us the benefit of being able to communicate, being able to work together, being able to solve bigger problems and think in different ways. So the conscious mind can absolutely question the process all it wants. But if the subconscious mind, as long as that accepts what's happening, it will make adjustments without the need for conscious intervention. This is why hypnosis is so effective, even for skeptics. Because again, that change is happening under the hood. And most of the time when the conscious mind gets involved, that's where we get stuck anyway, because we're not allowing ourselves to just function automatically. We're bringing in all these complications that are gumming up the works. We're projecting into the future. We're projecting into the past. And the subconscious has no concept of that. Everything is in the now to it. So if consciously we're not being present with where we're at now, and we're thinking of something that happened, or we're worried about something that may or may not happen, we gum up the works, because the subconscious isn't dealing with the here and now. Now, as far as the change is working and being powerful, like as a hypnotist, the biggest problem with that is something that we'll run into that's called the apex problem. And this is when the hypnosis has worked so well that people don't notice. And that's because the change feels natural. It's we have this expectation that it's like, oh, something just happened to me, but it really isn't like that. Like, I mean, hypnosis isn't like movies or TVs. It just feels like a natural change. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm not doing the old behavior anymore. I'm doing the new thing, and it's great. So when hypnosis has worked like that, and these changes have happened, the result will feel so natural that it's like the problem just sort of disappeared on its own. And because the subconscious mind, it accepted the change, it made the change, and consciously, client doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to force anything. You don't have to expend the energy trying to change it. It's already happened. It's done. Boom, solved. Subconscious did it. And then, oh, okay, that's gone. So, example, somebody with fear of public speaking might oh, I have to give a presentation, have a session, and they go, after the session, they might say, well, I don't feel nervous about it anymore. But they're not going to necessarily give credit to the hypnosis. Consciously, they'll come up with all these other stories about why that fear is gone now. And it'll be something like, oh, yeah, I just grew out of it. And that is the apex problem in action, whereas the change is so deep and seamless that it feels like it was always that way. And I would say that's absolutely a great problem to have. Um, yeah, as a hypnotist, like, oh, you know, it sucks, but at the same time, it's awesome because that meant there was a lot of success for the client in that. Even if they don't realize it, I can still be happy about it because I know, oh yeah, I got that change for him. Um, so yeah, and again, this is why these changes are long lasting is the content free approaches, the use of metaphors, use of imagery, they create long lasting change. And again, it's that alignment with how the subconscious mind is naturally processing information and engaging the mind in its own language of symbols and stories. So the change is organic and it feels organic and becomes permanent. It just becomes fully integrated with the client's internal operating system, so to speak. So they don't have to spend the energy continually working on that change. It just becomes a part of who they are. And that is a wonderful thing. um, and this is also why I say it's important to have a consultation with a hypnotist before you choose to work with them. Not just like the first one you see, talk, make sure you like them, make sure you trust them to get the change that they can actually help you with your problem. There are ways that, okay, I'm going to determine the best way to speak to your subconscious mind. There can be a lot of different approaches. Some people like the flowery language and the visuals. That doesn't work for other people. They want something more direct. Maybe if you respond, I don't have to do any of that. I can just have a conversation with your subconscious and have it speak back to me. It's all about finding the right way, whether it's visual or kinetic or auditory. However, your mind communicates the best, and finding a hypnotist that works with that the best. So when you have that and that trust, that relationship, hypnotherapy is such an amazingly powerful tool for creating lasting, permanent change. So, um, right on time. I'm doing a painting project, and it's time for a second coat. So I am going to end it here and love you and leave you. I just want to say that, you know, if there is something that you want to change, go to ebhypno.com, schedule a call with me, schedule a consultation with a little mini session in there, and you can experience what it's like to have a content-free session. Um, and that might work better for you than listening to a recording that doesn't use language that necessarily aligns with how your subconscious likes to process information. So, um, go to my website, evhypno.com. You can book a call there. You can check out my services, find out more about my offerings, and then reach out with any questions. And again, if you like these lives, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. Let me know in the comments what will serve you the best out of this, what you would most like to see to get those big changes happening in your life, to get you unstuck and moving forward and freeing yourself from anxiety, stress, whatever else might be holding you back. And again, thank you for watching. I'm Evan Baumgardner from Elliott Bay Hypnosis.